This is general life advice.
So, what were you talking about?
You wanted a dating advice video. I think she wanted it for herself. She goes, why don't you do a dating advice video? And I go, that's not my brand, but I can. I need my phone. Things that you can do, just general advice, what to wear, situationships and why to avoid them. It was more like having a conversation about dating rather than here's advice for dating, because everything is different, everybody has different personalities. You date more than I do.
Yeah, I've been on more dates, but I've never had a boyfriend.
I've had a couple of boyfriends. I don't go on dates. I've been on one singular date in my life. Previous times I've had boyfriends, it's been meeting them through other people and or hanging out with them in a friendship context and being like, hey, look, we get along really well. And then you sort of go from there.
Unfortunately, the church that I went to, the youth program shut down just as I entered into it. Just a girls group and a guys group. And while I was in the girls group, be asking these questions. So how are we meant to meet guys?
How you meant to meet guys? Well,
but they would just tell me like you shouldn't be meeting guys at this age. They made it so wrong to be even hanging out with a guy.
If you've been told this, if your parents tell you this, if anybody tells you this, there's nothing wrong with that. Also, because guys and girls can be friends as well.
I'm gonna be meeting guys through dating apps is the result for me.
I don't think there's anything wrong with dating apps either. Like obviously half the time people are just looking for a hookup rather than to go on dates. But if you just find people that you'd like to go on dates with and see if you get along with them, that's fine. I met my ex-boyfriend on Tinder, so there was nothing wrong with that.
Any sort of meet up with a guy, or is a date clearly
defined as a date? I mean, I guess if you're going to hang out with them, then yes. Not if you're just going over to their house, that doesn't count. No. If you're going out and doing something.
So a simple coffee meetup is still counted as a date? Yes.
I don't drink coffee for starters, so if someone asks me out on a coffee date, might be a bit of a problem. I'm more of a brunch or a lunch person. If you're going to ask me out, take me to run. I wrote down some things to do. Coffee's at the top of the list of that is the easiest possible date to go on.
For normal people.
I'm like the exceptional. You can get like a hot chocolate or you can just get any sort of drink, to be honest, like smoothie, milkshake. I would get Coke, which is pretty pointless.
Actually, I've always wanted to do like a blind date. Group blind date. Like I found you someone and you found me someone.
I don't want to go on a blind date. I also said there's things like you might go to the beach. I wanted on the dating experience, we went for lunch and then we went to the beach. Or if you're like more of an adventurous person, I've written down like mini golf or bowling. I feel like a really good first date things. Or like to the zoo or to Staglands, which is a petting zoo, which there's a vlog on that. It's summer now, so I'm thinking of summer things to do. If you're a gym person, there's always a gym date.
See, gym dates are hard though, because I've been on a couple of those.
Go and I'd run on the treadmill and that would be me, and I'd stretch and be like, hey look, I can do the splits. You were talking about things to wear when it comes to like the gym and things. That's kind of, you obviously would wear what you would wear like to the gym. So I would wear what I would wear to dance, which would probably either be leggings or at this time of year probably shorts.
I like to put like a little bit of makeup on if I'm meeting someone for the first time.
Oh, not like me too. Well, I do in general because I'm filming a lot, so I wear makeup daily, and even to dance rehearsals I wear makeup. But I genuinely enjoy doing my makeup, and half the time I've been filming videos, and that's why.
But with the gym, then the problem is that you sweat it off.
Setting powder, setting spray, set the crap out of your face. This is general life advice. In general, for like say a coffee date, I would do jeans and a cute top.
Sometimes I have like just a really skirt and top set.
She's a matching set person. I'm not a matching set person. I would wear this. This is what I would wear to a date. Not these shoes. These are, I'm wearing black sneakers right now because I can dance in them. But I was wearing like pink nice sneakers. Pants are my favorite pants. I have them in black as well, and you can wear them for any occasion.
Would you wear heels on the first date?
I don't wear heels in general. The only time I wear heels is if I'm going to a heels class. So no, I wouldn't. I never wear heels even if I'm going out unless it's specifically like a fancy dress party. I think that would be the only time I would wear my heels. My number one piece of advice, which I actually got from TikTok, is don't let them pick you up. Meet them somewhere. They don't need to know where you live, unless they already know where you live. Just for safety reasons.
Say if they offer to pay for your Uber home, give them the address of a little bit further up the road.
I feel like this is more like clubbing advice. If you meet a guy in a club, don't let them get you an Uber to your house, because then it's on their Uber account and they can stalk you.
You go home with them.
That's a completely different story, and that is not part of the video. This is dating advice, not hookup advice.
How do you adventure from hookup into dating?
That's not my area of expertise.
A lot of people these days, obviously meeting in clubs and hooking up first, and then maybe it might carry on into date.
You can do
Yeah.
that. See, I'm
Yeah.
someone who does go clubbing a lot. Like, I've met so many people. Like, I've made so many friends. Those are people that say I wanted to, I could probably go on a date with.
See, New Zealand is so small, so someone is bound to know someone, and that's how you usually meet people for your mutual friends.
We have a big drinking culture in this country. You meet most people at parties every time.
I'm going for a party, and everyone at the party has to bring a +1.
Oh, that's the rule? If you come, you have to have a +1?
Yeah, have to bring a +1.
Okay.
If you're in
Are we having a
relationship-
singles party? We can do the thing where you have different coloured t-shirts, and whether you're single, it's complicated, or in a relationship.
I love that, yes.
Something that I specifically have said is do your research. It's not stalking unless you go way too far into things. But if you just like do like basic research. I said this was how to be a mastermind like Taylor Swift's song. Because you've seen all those TikToks as well where people like set up how they've met their significant other. Conversations and interactions that you have are based on knowledge that you have with the other person. It's not stalking. It can be stalking.
That is handy.
And you can find things in common easier.
On top of that, this was a tip that my dad gave me. That when you're meeting people for the first time, this isn't just anything, and this can include
This is how to make friends. This is a how to make friends
Yeah,
video.
yeah. You get them talking more about them and what they like in the conversation. If there's something that you realize something that they like, ask them more questions on that.
At the same time, if you're on a date and you're getting to know someone, you do not want to have one person talking the entire time either.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you're that sort of person that prefers to listen and they're the type of person that prefers to talk, but you're not going to know that on a first date. You want the conversation to flow and go back and forth rather than one person is talking. That's also a red flag, as if the person is talking completely about themselves. They try to involve you in the conversation and it just keeps going back to them, then that's fine. At the same time, you want it to keep going back and forth. I personally only like it if a conversation flows. If there's like, it stops. I'm not the type of person to come up with random questions because I find that awkward. I want questions to come up naturally as a conversation rather than, oh, what's your favorite color? Oh, what did you do in school? Oh, what are you studying? Blah, 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 blah. Like, there's nothing wrong with that to ask questions, but if you're just continuously like asking get to know you questions, I personally don't like that. I feel like you're the type of person to do that.
I'm one of those ones when I get nervous.
You just keep asking questions?
I'll keep talking, or I'll keep like trying to make the person talk.
I get nervous and I stop talking.
Now, topics of conversation.
Topics of
Oh my gosh,
conversation.
this is a whole thing.
I feel like I wrote something about that, but I don't remember. Here's one thing I did say, and this is based on what you told me from your previous date. Do not talk about any previous relationships or flings or anything, unless of course it like kind of comes up, but just try to avoid that completely. Do not talk about kids and marriage unless you're referring to what like you might want in the future, and it's kind of like, oh, your future plans. Talk more about short term. Do not bring up kids or marriage together and how they can go together. Don't make plans for the future. But like it's a good conversation to have, like if you are talking about like your views are on that. That's fine.
Yeah.
You
like,
definitely want to find someone who has the same goals as you though.
Yeah. I feel like maybe not on the first
not on the
date.
first date. But the number one
Maybe
thing
not
I
on the
think
first
from that
date.
was also just do not bring up any exes of any kind.
Like, don't fully explain your last relationship. Like for me,
Just briefly be like, I've been in a situationship and I haven't been treated very well previously.
yeah, like you
Like
just,
that, but don't go into any more detail than that. That is how I would sum it
like
up.
I honestly have to say that.
There's a lot of things that go into dating. Oh, one of the biggest things was kissing on the first date.
Nah. No, unless there's alcohol involved.
That's not a date though. That's
Was that
straight up
just
just
hook up?
like
that
that's
where-
probably a hookup, yeah.
Okay. What about paying on the first date?
Oh, who pays?
Yeah.
See, my rule is whoever asks the person out on the date should be paying, or you split it if you're the type of person to split it. My
I like
last
doing that too.
relationship, especially towards the end of the relationship, which was the end of the year, which is a really expensive time of year, and I was incredibly broke, so he was paying for a lot of things, which is bad because then we then broke up and I didn't get the chance to like be the one paying, but because he had a job and I did not, that was whoever had the income at the time. Oh, red flags.
Two things that you have said that are red flags, and to me, I feel like
you don't see the red flags. The red flags looking green to her.
they're more of a yellow flag.
Said that everybody is different, and so
Some of the red flags that you said when I was like coming back to you, telling you about the day, and you're like, "Oh, that's a red flag."
that's a red
and
flag.
I was like,
if you don't have the entire context, it's a red flag, but maybe within context it can.
"Yeah, we're talking
depending.
about like marriage and kids."
Which I've now already said earlier is a bit of a red flag. Don't.
What had happened on the date, it kind kind of flowed
into that conversation.
And then I tried to cut it out, and I was like, oh, well, we can't talk about kids first because I need a ringing commitment.
Funny.
Thinking that would end that conversation as a bit of a joke.
Okay.
And then this was the best bit, was that he's like, yeah, I want a full-on wedding to celebrate the rest of the life that I'm going to have with someone.
Which is cute, but at the same time, it was a bit of I straight up think it's a red flag, and I would be uncomfortable.
To this generation, and to hear that
to
coming
talk
from
about
a guy,
things, I definitely was like, okay, that's a really cool thing to hear from a guy, but on a first date, I still think that's a red flag. I straight up would have been uncomfortable. So some obvious ones are checking their phone a lot, unless of course you're me, because my job is on my phone, so sometimes I kind of have to go, say I get an email or a message pop up, and I'm like, oh damn. I'm actually not on my phone a whole lot when I'm like with somebody else. With you,
with me, I know, your best friend, you can just go on your phone and
we've changed locations, but I don't know if you can tell. It's a very windy. Hello. I watch. They're late with no warning. Like, it's okay to be a few minutes late, but they're actually late. I reckon definitely arrived like a couple minutes late, in my opinion. I'm definitely an on-time person though, I rely on public transport, so that's why I'm either early or on time. If they are significantly late and give you no warning, no message when they could have, that's a straight up red flag. It's about communication, but it also means that they're a person who's late and they're just always late, and you just don't want that.
The first date, people are usually good at communicating on. If they're not, then that's totally a red flag. If they suddenly do start turning up late to dates without notice,
they're not interested.
Yeah, that definitely is a red flag.
So if they're not interested, why show up in the first place? Yeah, just be honest. Like if you're not interested in a person, do not string them along. This is something else that I think I've mentioned, is like, do not string them along. Don't do it. Just cut it off completely. If they have a bad attitude, slash like an ego. Being confident is one thing. Confidence is great, but you can, like, there's very much a clear line between if they're self-confident or they just have a really big ego and they're really just like up themselves pretty much. Oh, if someone's just really insecure or jealous, just straight up. No, just in general, like, you can tell that they're an insecure person.
See, I feel like me personally,
or they okay, no, here's a better way to put this. They talk down about themselves.
And I'm giving off my own red flags then here at the moment, like, but you've got to be between being honest. Like, if someone said something
this is straight up just being like really negative about, this is just being real negative about, it's like, it's okay to be like, oh no, that's not really my thing, but straight up just negatively talking about yourself.
We can talk about our insecurities. You just need to also be able to talk about what you're doing to fix it if it is a real insecurity.
I don't really talk about my insecurities, but that's because I don't really talk down about myself. I talk positively about myself. An example of this is, we were in class last year and it was like an audition class, so basically it's like mock audition, like what you would get in a dance audition, and our teacher asked everybody what their favorite thing about themselves was, and half the room said nothing. I'm the only person that said everything. So I went the complete opposite end of, I was like, I love everything about myself, and it was a true answer. She absolutely respected that and me saying that, because everybody else was saying nothing, and then you can't go into an interview and say nothing. We weren't talking danceability, because I could definitely say things negatively about myself in terms of danceability.
Oh, my phone's ringing.
You're getting a phone call. Who is it? Your dad.
It's my dad.
Someone doesn't know how to decline phone calls. Be like, I'll call you back later. Like, there is more time in the day. So that was your supermarket time. Bye supermarket. No, I'm kidding.
What are we talking about?
I don't know. Situationships and why to avoid them. Okay, so the straight up first point is, if you're in a situationship, it makes you feel like you're not good enough to be in a relationship. The other person makes you feel this way, unless of course you're the one initiating the fact that it's a situationship. In some way that's sort of just like, you're not good enough to be in a relationship.
Are we referring to my own situationship?
Well, here? No. We're just referring in general. This is in general.
Okay. I'm ready for the relationship, but he doesn't want to commit.
If it was just like sort of like a exclusive friends with benefits sort of thing, would have been fine. But it was, you then started living together and it was a full-on situationship because you didn't define the relationship, and it wasn't a relationship because you were pretty much a couple, but you weren't, because you didn't say you were a couple, and he definitely went off with other people. Definitely try to work things out if you can, but it gets to a certain point where you just need to cut all ties. No! Decline! Your parents calling you. So mum calling her now. It's going more into like relationship territory rather than dating. But also in dates, don't string someone along if you know that's not going to work out. Don't continue to go on dates with them. That's sad for the poor person that you're like, I don't really like this person, but like, I'm going to continue going on dates with them. This also goes for like, if you've lost feelings for someone, it's like kind of difficult. You feel bad, especially if they're a really good person. Like, I definitely did that at the end of my last relationship. I was like, I don't want this anymore, but I didn't know how to get out of it, because I was like, there's nothing wrong with the relationship. There definitely definitely was, but there was nothing in my mind that was wrong, or I was trying to find a reason to solidly end it, which I did inevitably, but it was very much like I did kind of string him along in the final month. Do not never go through their phone, never do it, unless you actually have valid reasons to and you know that they are cheating on it, like you know straight up, and you need to check their phone just to end things. Don't check their phone.
How long until you become exclusive? Because this day and age, with like dating and on Tinder,
it depends on how often you see that person and how you truly feel about them, because it can take a lot longer to like sort of get to know a person if you're only going on occasional dates. But if you're like consistently hanging out for like a few weeks,
you know this person for a few weeks, and then you started dating, like actual boyfriend, girlfriend, and they asked you to be your girlfriend. So that's cool. I wish boys these days were more like that.
This is not that long. You took like us ages ago. Most people, when they're looking for a relationship, that is what they do, and you know that you have feelings for that person. Then the next thing to do is to ask them out, unless of course you're not in the right place in your life to be in a relationship, and then you should let that person know. I'd say like a month.
And I question whether I should even be trying to find a date because I'm so busy right now. But then there's always these quiet moments in my life.
Lonely moments.
Yeah, after I have a date that's coming up, and I know after this date there's going to be no dancing. I'm going to have very little work.
Yeah, see, I keep people like, can we hang out? And I go, in December, but you'll have to be in the Vlogmas vlogs. Which, by the way, I'm doing Vlogmas, so anyone who has any Vlogmas ideas for me, I will be doing a video every single day in December up until Christmas. So comment anything you want to see during the entire, like, basically a month. I had one thing to say. This is actually just how to get a guy's attention, but it will also probably work on a girl. If they follow you, best believe your social media game better be really good. That Instagram game, incredibly important in this day and age. I personally find that, like, if a guy has like a good Instagram, you're like, wow, that is a shock. You don't have to be overly active, but have some nice photos.
They've got to be willing to post you on their social media.
Yeah, that's another red flag. Someone who won't put you on, especially say, like, I'm very much like a post videos on my story sort of person, but it's mostly just my friend's only story. It's kind of a red flag if they just won't put you on there at all. Okay, I hope that you enjoyed. So if you have anything you want us to answer, like in future vlogs, and we could definitely do. We could. It might not be till January. Any Vlogmas ideas you want me to film, also comment them. Subscribe and turn away post notifications, and follow all of my social media, which will be in the description box down below. And give this video a big thumbs up. See you in the next video, which will be Vlogmas Day 1.